Oh, I don't like drilling holes in perfectly good bike frames. But this is a hole for a riv nut. And I do like riv nuts. You see, I chose this bike because I've been riding it for a while. It's one of my favourite ordinary bikes to ride. It's one of the old rental bikes out of my rental fleet when I used to run cycle escapes. Now, I wanted to put an engine into this and have this as my daily ride, but there's a lot of modification needed to get the engine that you see below, a YD80 Chinese motorcycle engine kit, to fit into this small-framed, specialised hard rock. And one of the glaring problems that I've found after fitting about five or six Chinese engine kits to bicycles is the petrol tank. The petrol tank is bloody awful. It's small, it's poorly made, its mounting system is shite. And so I wanted to go one better. So this is the fuel tank from a CRF 50, a little Honda kids motorbike. And I chose this because it's a larger capacity fuel tank than the one that comes with the Chinese engine kit, and it can be bolted down to the frame, and it's plastic, and it's not going to rotate when I go over bumps, because of course when you put 2 litres of fuel into a tank, the tank suddenly weighs 2 kilograms. And when it doesn't actually bolt to the frame, when it's only clamped with a very inferior little pair of clamps, it's just awful. It's an accident waiting to happen. It's a container of fuel sitting above a hot engine with sparks and hot exhausts, and trust me, the very worst could happen at the very worst time. So I'm taking efforts to eliminate as much of that as I can. And so that is the first part of me doing this modifications to this bike to make it into my daily ride. Now, I don't know what this stuff is called. I call it foam board. It's like plywood. It's available in different thicknesses. The thinner ones are very, very flexible, so it's great for doing anything that needs to be curved. But by the time you start getting up in the thickness, it starts to become reasonably strong. It's totally waterproof. It's easily painted because it's got a hard, durable skin on both sides, but the middle of it is a semi-soft kind of a foam core. It's really, really light, and I'm going to make a spacer to go in the front of the fuel tank. I'll paint it black when it's finished, but I'm going to make a piece that fits in here that straddles the bike's top tube. Imagine that's the top tube. It's going to sit in there like that. So I'm going to make a horseshoe shape, and I'm going to glue 2 of these together to double it up, and that will give me a strong, firm front piece, just to stop I don't know, just to stop mud and debris, flies, whatever, disappearing down this hole. It'll just look better if it's blocked up. So we need something 63 millimeters wide. We'll set the saw at 63 millimeters, and I'll cut a slice and fit it down inside. there, like that. I want to round corners off a little bit. I'm going to glue two of these, one behind the other. How big does it need to be? And then I can bang saw the rest of it. Not bang saw, then I can put it into the sander. Put it into the sander and finish it off, and I'll band saw the hole out of the middle once I've got the outside shaped to fitting in there, and then I'll put a screw hole smack down through the middle of it, and it will screw with a long screw into the riv nut that's on the top of the frame. Right, hopefully that'll stop it rattling from side to side, and it'll stop rats nesting up there, but it won't stop spiders. You can't stop spiders, but you can slow them down. My trick of the day, you listening, sidetracking for a moment. If you've got a spider living in your wing mirror in your car, the best way of getting rid of it is fly spray and a bread bag, over the mirror, and leave it for the afternoon, because you can't get enough fly spray inside that little crack to get the buggers. Not that I advocate killing spiders. Right, let's screw this thing down, see how it looks. This is gonna be the hottest motorized bike tip out there. This is so much better than the original tank already. What's not to like? Low cost, extra litre capacity, two handy tie down points at the front for you to build something up here or tie things down to, and rock solid. If I made this video a step-by-step how-to video, it'd be a week long. So I'm only showing you the highlights. These are the two adapters that I made. The reason I did this was because it had two bottle cages, and so there were already 4 riv nuts in the frame that I knew that I could attach this motor to. I've had to modify the engine casings themselves. This front mount, the curved piece, you might be able to see that I've taken 6mm off the front of it to make it shorter. I've done something similar with the back end as well. I've removed the half moon adapter piece and the studs that are normally fitted to the rear of these engines, and I've also ground that as close as I possibly can, because
right under where it's going to sit is going to be one of the cap screws that holds the T-piece aluminium mounting plate to the frame. So I've got to recess that. Now I've also taken about 3 to 4 millimeters off the fins on the head so that I can get it in. And you can see that it's now in the frame. But the next fight is getting all of the bolts in. I've had to cut them to specific lengths for certain holes. I've had to taper the end of one of them so that I can get it started on a slight angle. I've had to reduce the head diameter of 2 of them. I've had to make a special Allen key that allows me to get in and get one of them done up while it's in place. It's been a shit fight, but I've enjoyed it. It's been a project, and it's built by me, and it's built to my specs, and I've done everything as well as I possibly can. I'm very, very happy with the build so far. Yeah, it's taken 4 days, I think, to get this far. I'm going to get the thing rideable probably tomorrow, but I won't have a rear brake because after getting the sprocket on and getting the rag joint all done up and checking my clearances, I've found that I don't have enough room to run the caliper as it is. I sort of knew it would be like that. So I'm now getting a 4mm offset ring for the disc, and I'm also getting a larger diameter disc and what's the other thing I've ordered? A bracket that allows me to move the disc caliper out to meet the new diameter. So when those 3 items arrive, I'll be able to reconfigure the rear brake and get that done. And I'm also going to be using one of the twin pull brake levers so that I don't have a front and rear brake, which you only really use for technical situations off-road, in mud, downhill. I'm not going to be doing any really silly stuff on this. This bike's going to be mostly gravel roads adventure bike, nothing too technical. So I will have just the clutch on the left and 1 brake lever on the right. And the great thing is the brake lever I've ordered has a brake light switch in it, which is awesome, so I can run brake lights. I'm going to put a nice little LED under the seat, and eventually I'm going to give this thing a 12-volt stator, which will give me a big fat spark, and it will give me enough energy to run a lighting coil. And that means that I can run tail lights, brake lights, coffee percolator, home entertainment system, and a small washing machine.
Right, we're getting really close now. I faffed about with this for a full day. So if anybody's got the idea that they're going to make money out of building these things, forget that, because you'll never recoup your expenses. But if you want to build yourself a banging set of wheels, this is the way to do it. Now I'm taking every care I can to keep things tidy, so I'm spending a lot of time on where the cables and wiring looms sit. I want them to be unobtrusive. I want them to be protected from any debris. I want them to be protected from the heat of the engine. Everything's a little bit of a compromise, but I'm doing what I can. Now, because it's so tight in here, it's taken me so long to get this in, the mountings, you saw that they were 2 T-shaped pieces of aluminium. One upside down is the front one, the back one is the right way up, like a T. They have now had holes in them slotted because I'm going to have to jiggle the motor around after it's sitting in place so that I can get the bolts to line up with the threads, because the heads have to sit in recesses between the plate and the frame. It's all very close tolerances. Now that I've got this amazing tank on, I can start figuring out how I'm going to fit the carburetor. Now, I knew that I wasn't going to have room for the carburetor in here, so that means the standard manifold is useless and the carburetor is going to have to stick out to one side or the other. Now, this is the carburetor that comes with the kit. It's okay. It's got a 14mm throat. It's tiny, so cute. It's going to have to sit out here, and it's got several sticky outy bits which are going to be a problem. Also, the throttle cable comes in the top, which means the cable's somehow got to go over the top and down. It doesn't matter what side I put it on, I'm faced with that issue. So that can disappear. I'm not going to use that. What I am going to use is something that I've been dying to use ever since I pulled my Still Weed Eater apart. I was giving it a refurb, and I found that there was a refurb kit available on eBay that contained a complete carburetor for the same price as a carburetor kit. So I thought, I'll buy the complete carburetor. So my Weed Eater got a brand new carby, and I ended up with the old one. Didn't have the heart to throw it away because it was such a cute little thing. It's on my desk. I'll just grab it. Now, you can see it's got the tiniest little throat, and it's everything in miniature. It's beautiful. So that inspired me to do more research, and I found that, of course, this is off a 25cc Still motor. Weed Eater. Still also make really good chainsaws. They don't have all the usual paraphernalia that carburetors have, like a float bowl and jets that you have to change inside if you want to alter the performance. They're quite old school, whereas these little carburetors do it all with diaphragms and positive and negative pressure. They can work upside down on their side. For a trail bike, these could be just the thing, and of course they're real small, but this one's not big enough. So I went out and I bought this one, which is the carburetor off the Still 088. As you can see, it's got a much bigger throat. It's actually 21mm as opposed to the old carburetor's 14mm. So I'm pretty excited about the performance potentials. And it doesn't have any jets in it. Instead, they have two needle jets. Okay, I said that it doesn't have jets in it, but they're a different type of jet. They're an adjustable jet using these needles. You've got a high and low screw and an idle. That means whatever I do to this engine, I should be able to tune this carburetor to keep working well without having to spend more money. And by the way, it was only $30 New Zealand, which is $20 US. So that's going on here on my custom manifold that I've been working on. It will sit about like that. Doesn't that look good? And it'll give me full access to everything here. And my throttle cable can come down and hook straight on and pull in a line, and I don't have to have my throttle cable over the top. So I've got to finish making the manifold, and then I've got to connect up the wires. That's the very last thing I'll do. And I've got to get the sprocket on. So tomorrow I'll probably be riding this. Right, it's a miserable day outside today, so I'm working on my motorbike in the lounge. And now I'm going to start work on the back wheel. There, Right, it'll stay there. Okay, this thing has got splined disc rotors. I don't know why they've changed to doing it like this. I think it might be, no, I thought it might be so that the disc can float and self-align with the caliper, but it doesn't seem to. It doesn't seem to go in or out. But what they have is the disc is attached to a carrier. The carrier is splined and it fits over here instead of being bolted on. And that's a little bit of free play on the splines. I'm going to have to take that off, and then I can investigate how I'm going to fit the sprocket. I can either use the ubiquitous rag joint that these things have, or I can use a clamp-on adapter that clamps around the hub center and has 3 bolting points that poke out through gaps in the spokes, and the sprocket bolts to that. Looks nicer, still relies on a good grip of this hub for the drive. I don't really like it. It's sold as being better. I've got one here, wait a minute, I'll get it and then I can show you the difference. Right there. This is the sprocket I'm going to fit. And it's been a long time since I've handled one. I just realised how heavy it is. So I'm going to actually mark out some centres on here, and I might drill 5 or 6 lightning holes around the outside. But I'm not going to do that until I've investigated how it's going to be fitted, because honestly there's about this much room and I've got to get the sprocket, the chain, this disc and the caliper all within that much and have clearance between all of them. So it's not going to be easy. Now, the clamp-on hub, I was going to show you that. Right, here we go. Bit sexy, eh? They're CNC machined and polished. They're a beautiful bit of kit. And they are about $20 US, I think, $22 US. And then there's also the alloy sprocket that goes with it. So it's a nice looking setup, as opposed to the rag joint that I was talking about earlier. Let me find you the rag joint. Right, this is the rag joint, and I think this is what I'm going to be using. People complain about it, but they don't cause a problem so long as you've got to run them in. This is a movable, flexible, compressible disc made of reinforced conveyor belt rubber. Okay, and these are arranged so that they line up with the gaps in the spokes. When I take this disc off, you'll see that the spokes cross over and there's a wee hole, a gap between the spokes down below, and this is engineered so that the bolts go between all of those, and you put one on this side and then it goes against the spokes, and the other one you cut a slot in it so you can feed it between the spokes and get it over the hub, and then this one clamps up on the inside. And for the first few weeks while this runs in, you do have to keep tightening the bolts, but after that I've never had a problem with them. And to me it's a kind of a cush drive. It's just that little bit softer and kinder than a direct drive. And when you look at this, there's no keyway. There's nothing in here to stop it spinning. Once again, you're relying on the spokes, so they're not that flash. So I'm going to have a go with this first. First off, I've got to take this off, and I'm going to weigh this. Like I say, it feels stupidly heavy. I'll take it into the kitchen and give it a weigh up, and then I'm going to weigh it afterwards, after I've drilled it full of holes, and see what difference I can make. Right, so here I am with a luggage scale. I hope you're going to be able to read this when I hang the sprocket on it. Now the sprocket weighs 510 grams. I'm going to go and carve holes in it and see if I can reduce that weight a wee bit. So, I just painted my sprocket. Nice. But before I painted it, I carved these holes in it, and I think it looks a lot better than the standard pie dish looking thing that they come with. Looks more like a motorcycle sprocket now. So let's weigh it. See how much weight we've removed. Hang on, where's grams? Grams, there we go. Oh, 430 grams, and before it weighed 520. So 90 grams. We've lost 90 grams. Well worth it. Well worth it. Right, now we're going to fit the rag joint. Now this is a long process. It takes quite a while to get all these bolts through, all these holes through, all these spokes, and get all the pieces assembled on the back of it inside the hub, because when this is on here and you get the bolts through, you've got to get the other one in there and get the metal plates on and get all the nuts on, and then you've got to tighten it all down evenly so that it clamps up. It's a few minutes work, so I'm not going to put you through it. These are the bits that go on the inside. There's a bag of nuts somewhere. I'll find that in a minute, but there's some hardware that goes with this.
Right, there's one other really important job that's part of this, and that is making a custom manifold for this new carburetor. So I've found myself a piece of, I think it was chair leg. It was a piece of 16mm or 17mm tubing with a curve in it. So I've segmented it, cut it down into little sections, and now I'm going to proceed to weld those sections together in a new configuration and add flanges to it. You can see how I've got a little piece of copper wire that I've sat between the engine as it sits inside the frame and where I want the carburetor to sit. And that little piece of copper wire is my pattern for the center line of my manifold. So I'm just turning down the welder because I'm burning holes here.